Hello, my name is Jordan, and I'm a part of Team 5282, and I'm the lead programmer. Here with me today, I got one of the other programmers from the team.
I'm Aiden. I'm a programmer for Team 5282.
And we're here today to show you a small video about just the basics of coding with FRC VS Code 2019. So first of all, you're going to want to open up the program. It might take a little bit. Sometimes it does. And as you can see right here, we got a blank, just a straight up blank one from Visual Studio. So when you want to make a project, there's a simple shortcut, or you can just hit the W up in the corner over here. I prefer to do the shortcut though. So I hit Control, Shift P, and then I go to create a new project. Then it takes a while also, and other times you just got to do it a second time. It looks like I'm going to have to do it a second time here. Oh, no, there we go. Then from here, you're going to be prompted with this display right here. So from here, you're going to go to select a project type, and you're going to click Template. And then obviously we're going to use Java. And then we're going to go to this part right here. So right here, we got a list of different types of ways to code. After you do that, you are going to be displayed with this setup right here. This is the basic setup of how to make a project. It says so right in the name. So from there, you're going to click on this button right here to display you with two options, Template and Example. We use Template because it gives us some of the things that we need, and it makes it a little bit easier instead of going completely from scratch. From there, the language that we use is Java, and then you're going to be prompted with these options right here. These are the different project bases. You got Iterative Robot, which is a very simple version. It's very easy to code with, but you cannot do completely everything that Visual Studios has to offer, but it's way easier to code because you only have to worry about one thing.
Which is good for learning and teaching.
Yes, very much so. And then you have Time Robot, which this is if you are wanting to go based on like running timed code. So like if you're wanting to base your code on like seconds or minutes or other stuff like that. So if you're wanting more of like after 10 seconds of this, you go on to this, and you're going to want to pick Timed Robot.
Yeah, so like you move forward for 2 seconds, tone, and move forward for 3 seconds kind of thing.
The next option down is Time Skeleton, which this is just more of an advanced version of time, so you got a couple more options with it. Not too much of a difference, honestly, though. Then you got the one that we use all the time, Command-Based Robot, which this is the one that gives you the most. You can do basically everything that the program has to offer. It's the most complex. It's harder to do, but you can do the most with it, which I definitely prefer. To me, I think it's more easier than iterative just because of the sheer amount of options you have.
And if you don't know something, there's likely another way to go about it with how many options, so there's a lot of different ways to go about what you're trying to do as well.
Mm-hmm. And then you got Sample Robot, which is basically to where it just gives you some code to try out. So like, let's say if you don't know how to code something, you can get a sample code for it. So then you can see how someone else programmed it. So for this, we're going to click Command Robot, and that basically sets it up from there. Sets it up for us. So from there, we get to select the spot that we get to put our folder for this project. So we're going to put select a new project folder, and then we usually keep a same spot. So I would go to your team and I would discuss where you want this spot to be. It's way easier to have a set spot so then everyone knows. Even if you guys are using different laptops, you should always have a similar range spot. So then if someone's like, hey, I have to use your computer, or hey, I got to use a different computer, we all have the project saved in the same spot. So then there's not an issue of where's it at, on this computer.
And another thing is if there's a software called GitHub and GitKraken, which will help you to have the same file, but we will likely get to that in another video.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge focus, so we'll probably just do a whole big video on this. This one's just mainly for, easy setup, how to create programs, that kind of stuff. So where we usually put it is we usually go up to here with these options, and we usually keep everything in GitHub. As you can see, we got all of our projects that we do here, but for now we'll create a new folder. So we'll right click and we will hit new and then create a folder. And you get to name the folder. So usually we name the folder what we want the whole project to be called. So for this, we'll just put testing. That's a great name for this, just because we're just basically showing you the basics. So then you're going to hit enter, and you're going to select this folder. Once you select it, you'll see that where the roundabouts or where the project is at is displayed in
Yeah, where it is stored.
From there, we're going to enter a name. I like to use the same name as I put the folder just to make it easy. So this we'll name testing. So then you're going to have this box at the very bottom where it tells you to enter your team number. For every single person a part of FRC, they're on a team of some sorts. For us, our team is 5282. And then you hit generate project. And then you can either use this window that you're on, or you can use a different window. For this one, we're just going to use the current window because we already just have a blank folder anyways right over there. Okay, so as you see, once we create it, we're prompted with this. You can see that up here we have the name of our project right there, so testing. It's put right there, so that's easy to see. Everything under there is everything in testing. Everything that we're actually going to use is in SRC, and then there is deploy in Java. Java is where all the files that we can edit are put at. So then you got these 4 options right here. These are your main blocks of code. So everything that you use any other place in this code is going to link into here somehow. Robot.java is your absolute basic. It's this thing that everything plugs into. So if you were to use iterative robot, you would only have robot.java. You would not have any other one of these over here. So if we were to use iterative, this would be the only thing that we would have. We wouldn't have command, subsystems, or even main.java, oi.java, or robot maps. So with this, you can already see how it's more complex because we have more options. But as you can see, we're already given some code, all the stuff that we need to get started. And all this code is based off of FRC. So it makes it really easy just to start messing with code and just start plugging and chugging to make your robot do what you want. Another interesting thing about command base is how, compared to other bases which will only have these options, you have commands and subsystems. So subsystems are like your step down from these main ones. So within you'll have a subsystem. So once you open that, there'll be a subsystem here. They give you an example one. You can rename it if you want. So like let's say we're wanting this to be our drivetrain. We can rename it, and we can rename it drivetrain. So then if we wanted to use that as our... There we go. Took a second. But so then we can rename it, and then once we rename it, you'll see that an error pops up, but you just gotta easily fix it by just changing that to the name that it is now changed to.
Which you can also use whenever in the bigger photos. You can also use the find and replace option as well.
Yeah, that's an easier way of doing it. You're gonna have to replace every spot though that it...
You might want to show them that real quick.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, and then you can do Control F for that, and then you can see every single spot that it is that. It shows everything highlighted that shows it. Okay, but yeah, you're just going to want to go through, and you're just going to want to change all these to drivetrain. If you want to make it easier and not type it each individually, you can just copy this. Control C, then go over here, Control V, Control V. I hit Control V. Once you have all that done, you'll see that there'll be no more red errors at all, and everything will be back to normal. When you go into Subsystem, you'll see it's way more empty. It doesn't have as much content as the other folders do, and that's because Subsystems you kind of have to fill yourself. So since we have this called drivetrain, if we were to code this out, we would put everything in here that is made for the robot's essentials to drive. And then we would take this and we would just plug it into robot.java. As you can see, it's imported right here. So then everything that's contented in that will be taken into here, so then we don't have to type it all across the code. It can just be in there and then import it into here. So then we can use that in any way we want.
An easy way to think of subsystems are kind of like organs in your body. Like one organ, like your heart, will, pump blood. But then you have commands right above that, which are kind of like all the small things within that organ or that organ group.
Mm-hmm. Commands make it really easy to just plug and chug. They're like the exact definition of basically plug and chug. You'll take it, you'll write it, and then once afterwards you do that, you can plug that into, like, let's say a button. So if we were to go in here and we were to, let's say, just make a button, we would just say like joystick. And it's going to error here, but that's because we don't have anything down. But like, let's say if we were to put joystick, then we were to put button 1 is equal, whoops.
Brackets. You gotta get the brackets 1 and 1.
And then we would put is equal to, and then we'll put the command name. So for this, I'm not going to change the name, but like it'd be like example command. And then once we hit button 1, it would run that. It would run that command.
And commands and subsystems kind of work hand in hand in the sense of a lot of the commands will go right into the subsystems. So like, let's say button 2 on joystick 2 will make the robot move in a certain direction, make the robot turn 90 degrees. You plug that into your drivetrain and button 2 and have it turn 90 degrees whenever it does that.
So from there, looking at like the construction of a command, it kind of shows, and it's really easy to kind of read. You have these little notes which are made from 2 brackets, and then you can type something afterwards to kind of leave you a note. So then it can kind of explain it to you, but it's really simple. So right here, we got the initialize. This is where you kind of explain everything of the command. So like if we're going to use joystick, we're going to like explain a joystick. We're going to be like joystick equals new joystick is equal to joystick 1. Then we got to put our semicolon at the end. Now, once again, it's going to show an error because we don't have everything set up, so I'd have to import joystick and all that kind of stuff, but this is to just give you a basic understanding. So you would initialize it in the initialize category, and then from there we would use the execute category to tell it what to do. So like, let's say if we were to tell the joystick to make it to where like it takes the Y value of the joystick and it moves the robot straight, or it turns it or something like that. So then we can use the execute category to show or to tell it what to do. And then you got the is finished, which you're just always going to put it as return false. So what that does is then it makes it to where after the command is run, it will stop doing the command because it's returned false. And then there's nothing in the end or in the interrupted, because if we were to put this as true, then it would be asking what to do if the command ended. We don't usually make our commands loop though, and if we do, we would just change this to true and then put like a looping thing here at the end. And then the interrupted is if the command is interrupted, which it shouldn't, but I mean, it's always safe to put a stop if it is interrupted, just so then it just doesn't keep trying to run. So that's the basic structure of how a command base works. Is you have command subsystems on your main ones. So from there, there's one other thing that we want to show you for this episode, just kind of like an introduction, is if you are on our team 5282, we have a Google Classroom where it's not really used for too much. It kind of is empty besides for just this one important thing at the very bottom, which is the work folder. Even if you're not part of the programmers area of our team, this will still be useful because it shows different folders for each group. So like right here we have competition 2019, and within that there's not too much besides for a whole bunch of scouting data. So I mean, if you ever want to go see our past years, there's that.
Yeah.
Then you got the newbie contacts and roles. This is basically a spot to have a new person look at how the different roles work, the contacts for if you needed to call like one of our head mentors or anything like that, and then the roles like what a builder does, what a driver does, what a programmer does, what a technician does within the drive team, what does the lead programmer do in the programmers team, all that kind of stuff. Then you got the activities, marketing, promotion. This is kind of like our spot for that sub area to where like if it's like we want to promote safety. So we're going to do all this sort of stuff. Or like we need to raise money for our next competition.
Yeah.
That's that area.
Kind of like all the in between.
Yeah. Within the builders folder, we have these different files in here. And the builder's preseason checklist is basically for just like things we need to organize or things that we need to have made. Like 1 year we built shelves, so then we can store stuff. Then you have the builder's to-do list, so it's filled with like, oh, we need to make the arm by this date.
Yeah.
Basically to
More
just keep us up.
active season stuff.
Yeah. Then we can go back to look at the other folders. Then we got the drivers folder. This is just has the to-do list in it. So like for the drivers, it's mostly like practicing and like trying to figure out who belongs in what spot. So like we need to figure out who would make the best main driver, who would make the best technician, that kind of stuff. And then we have the electrical maintenance and organization safety team. They're kind of all bunched together because they're smaller groups. So we just have a single folder for all those. We have some encoder stuff, so then people know how to put in encoders for red lines, coders for SRX mags, and you have the motor specs, and then wiring in just general. So then we have like a way of showing how stuff is wired and that kind of stuff like that. Then we have setup links, and then obviously the to-do list like every subgroup has to show what they need to get done. Okay. Then you got the best folder. The programmers folder.
Yeah. The most important to at least 10% of you guys.
This one has the most content in it. A lot of it is because it's useful information, stuff that we either will help us or it's our...
Stuff that, a lot of it is also stuff that we share like with the builders or with the electricians as well.
Yeah, so then we all have like a copy of it.
Yeah.
And at the bottom we got the thing that we use the most, the to-do list. And then here I'll show you an example of how the to-do list looks. So we have everything that we need to do. So like 2019 general program and outline. So it's the outline of like what we need to get done, that kind of stuff. Then we just scroll down and as you can see, it's kind of empty right now because we haven't exactly started the season yet. Okay, leaving this to-do list, we can go back to the work folder. And yep, those are all the categories that are shown. Thank you for tuning into this episode, and we hope that you enjoyed it. So hopefully you'll tune into our next episode where we'll show you how to link to the robot to then push code out to get the robot moving using the drivetrain application that FRC gives you at the beginning of every single kickoff. Thanks again. I'm Jordan.
I'm Aiden.
And we'll see you next time.